Wash Park resident and also a member of the Communications Committee on the Wash Park East Neighborhood Association. And we are so pleased to start a series called Get to Know Your Community. And so today's first video interview is with Darcy Barlow, who is also an East Wash Park resident, and she's also the regional lead for Neighborhood Watch. Thank you, Darcy, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So excited. Before we get started with all the logistics of Neighborhood Watch, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and why you took such an active role in kind of reinventing and really invigorating the Neighborhood Watch program?
Absolutely. So I am a resident. I've been here about 18 years and came from Chicago. And probably about 5 years ago, back in the springtime, we ended up having quite a few thefts going on with a group that was from Africa. And it was rampant. I mean, the thefts were in our area as well as areas throughout the Denver region, and I just wanted to get involved and see if there was a way that I could help. And I went to one of the community police meetings and raised my hand and said, how can we help?
Oh my gosh.
So, and my background's organization, product management, and I worked with Officer Mike Borquez and said, hey, I'm going to put a format together that is easy, that can be repeated, and that can be shared throughout Denver and beyond, to really make it easy for our citizens to get involved with the police and take action when action's needed.
That's amazing that you were able to kind of have that foresight to really make it a global project to improve and reduce crime, I guess. Right?
Absolutely, and I mean, it's going so well, and it's simple enough for everyone that it's even going beyond Colorado in some states. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, great success there. As I've met some other neighbors in the neighborhood, they have talked about being part of the Neighborhood Watch maybe 20, 25 years ago and having kind of living room meetings and things like that. Can you talk a little bit about how much it's changed and what the program really is now and how it works?
Yeah, I mean, the living room meetings are effective. The block parties are great to do. The area that it changed was utilizing technology. So having mass groups of people meet on a Google platform to view information, see latest and greatest information, update lists there, communicate with their own block utilizing this board, and then also with Nextdoor. And some of these other social media platforms have really helped to energize the ability to communicate. So when all these burglaries were happening, I was communicating with a lot of folks behind the scenes to get them involved. And after working with Mike and getting this set up, it was easy to convince people to get involved because they were so frustrated, especially if they were broken into.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So it's really just getting us to the 21st century, utilizing technology to our benefit and reaching out to many. And because of it, it has truly expanded.
That's so great. You must feel so proud of that. That's such a great project to help
to
improve.
serve.
So I think at one point it used to also be called, the title was Block Captain, but now they're Block Communicators.
Right.
And so are they the owners of that information then, the Google Drive and the technology that they...
Yes, they are. And especially with personal information, a lot of people are very leery about giving it out. So that information stays and is housed with that block communicator.
Okay.
So so the police would never know everyone on the block, only that block communicator, but it goes beyond even crime. It's if you have a sprinkler system that's busted or they see smoke coming out of the house or whatever, that block communicator can reach out to that neighbor and inform them of a situation happening. And it was interesting, I guess early on, it used to be block captain. But when we ended up getting this resurrected, the police wanted it to be communicator so that there was really an even playing field. They didn't want any type of hierarchy or perception of hierarchy with this because we're all in this together, and it was just intended for someone to lead the effort on a block. So, yeah.
Okay, so that's the switch in that name. So there's the regional lead, and so that person's kind of over a lot of neighborhoods.
Right.
And then there's the block communicators.
Well, and there's a coordinator that kind of resides in between. So I became the regional lead because as we were resurrecting this, I was communicating out on Nextdoor, and I would extend it out to the 18 like different communities or neighborhoods. So as folks were coming on, I never turned anyone away because holy cow, you have someone interested.
Right.
Of course, you want to keep them interested. So we just started expanding the footprint, and then there was folks that ended up wanting to become block leads in the areas, and then they did their coordination. So it worked out really well.
So can you explain then the meetings that go on at the police department?
Absolutely.
And then what happens there, and how is communication?
Yeah, so very effective. We used to do individual meetings throughout the communities, and it just was getting really crazy, especially for the community resource officers, because they were just all over the place. So the police, as they were building up their team with community resources, and they saw the value of the community and the police coming together, they started having the meetings at the police station, and they do this consistently. So every Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, it's the first Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m., the commander typically will go through the statistics based on the different divisions or the different districts, and talk through the stats, explain what crime is happening versus one area versus another, trends that we should be, watching for, such as, 25% of all stolen cars have their keys in the car.
Oh my gosh.
Which is insane. And this whole concept of garage doors being open, which happens. But anyhow, you can kind of walk through the trends, see what's going on in your area specifically, hear what's going on in the other areas, and then of course any upcoming events. So Neighborhood Watch has really evolved not only to just the community base, groups getting together or folks getting coordinated at the local level, but then events that are happening throughout the district where the police are getting ice cream, and
I've seen that on
the
Nextdoor.
neighbors could meet the police, or the kids can meet the police, because they want to build this bridge of community, and especially with the younger folks, really feel comfortable with the police because it's based on relationship. So they've done a great job.
That's wonderful. It's nice to be able to know who they are, and they're just spread so thin. As I've gone to one of the meetings, they really rely on the community and the neighbors to kind of go through a neighborhood watch, to kind of be the feet on the street and
absolutely
police one another.
Absolutely.
Well, not one another, but any potential crime that might be happening.
Right, and their big emphasis really is ensuring that everyone knows that you have permission to call the police. If you see something, call 911. If it's after the fact, call non-emergency. And we have really made a huge impact. I mean, we are the eyes and ears of our areas. We know what's normal, we know what's not. And if something is just feeling off kilter, by all means, call. It cannot hurt. And yes, they are busy, but at the same time, they really take our calls very seriously. And because of it, our crime has gone down substantially. Yeah,
can you elaborate a little bit on that, since you've kind of put together this program that is so like a well-oiled machine now with easy technology? What have been the changes in the crime stats?
Yeah, so it's been quite substantial. So I ended up getting involved 5 years ago. They typically do their statistics based off of 3 years. So we're going into October 2019. They'll take it back to October 2016. And in this area, and this is being very conservative, I would say we've gone down in crime 20 to 21%, even up to 22% easily. And even across the whole district, which has 6 sub areas or more. Actually, I'm thinking of all of Denver, but in District 3, I mean, there's a number of sub areas, the percentage is even higher. They're really seeing an impact, and it's happening. The visibility is happening at the chief level, and it's even expanding, like I said, even beyond us. So community policing is truly real, and given all of the things that are going on with just folks that have some odd behavior or some mental challenges, whatever, that seem a little off base, it's good to just get a pulse on these things given our environment today.
I agree. So if somebody is thinking about maybe becoming a block communicator, what do you think makes for a good person to do that, and what are the responsibilities and time commitment that it might take?
Yeah, so it's very reasonable. It's really self-run. It's at each individual's pace. The typical characteristics of a great block communicator, though, is someone who really does care, who's really open to taking action and kind of leaning in, being a little courageous, getting to know neighbors. I'd say somewhat organized, because you do need to gather the information as neighbors are coming and going, especially if it's rental properties or just houses being or turning over. You have to kind of stay on top of that, because as the communication comes in, it gets distributed out through you to the neighbors. This individual really doesn't have to write anything, because it's all provided to through the volunteers that are working this. Christy Morick has been fantastic with taking the notes from the CAB meetings, the monthly meetings, and dissecting it, and then putting in a format that can be shared easily, as well as upcoming events. So it's just a matter of getting the information, passing it along, keeping it updated, and then really, like I said, giving permission to your neighbors to call if something's going down. But as I mentioned, it goes beyond just burglaries and crime. It's your house in general. Yeah. And it's really kind of bringing the community back together.
It's kind of empowering, it seems.
It's very empowering, and with technology, with people everyone on their phones, it's kind of disconnected folks, and this is really intended to bring everyone back together again.
And one thing I liked from the training, they were also talking about get to know your neighbor on the other side of the alley. It's not just the people who are next to you, but see what's going on behind too. Absolutely.
And there are tools that indicate who is behind you, and maps and so forth. And so, if that crazy situation's happening, or you need to get footage from the alley for whatever reason, you can access the folks in the other alleys as long as someone's supporting the area.
That's great. So for somebody who might want to sign up now, I can put the DPD website in the comments below. Could they also reach out to you?
Absolutely.
For Squash Park questions?
Yep. So Darcy, D-A-R-C-I, Barlow, B-A-R-L-O-W, the number 1 @gmail.com is a great place to reach me.
Okay.
I will probably do a handover as well to include you with Christy, who's doing a lot of the organization. We'll get you on the master distro and get you tied in, and ideally going to the CAB meetings is probably the best place to get the information. And then they do separate neighborhood watch trainings at the police station too, which is specific for neighborhood watch.
Perfect.
Which is wonderful.
So before we wrap this up, can you give us a couple of tips that neighbors can do now to try to be safe?
Absolutely. So first off, you can do a walkthrough of your own house. Inventorying what you have is really key. You can also request a walkthrough with one of the officers, one of the community resource officers. So they'll walk the perimeter of your house, let you know if there's bushes that might be too large whereby someone can sneak in or kind of hang out in that area. Lighting. Ideally, if there's a way to have automatic timers set up in your house where your front light's going on, as well as maybe in a room or two, that's ideal. I know after we had that surge of crime in our area, we ended up getting aligned with an alarm company, and I can control the lights from my phone, and I can schedule when things go on and off. So if you travel over the weekend versus during the week, it has that intelligence. I would also just really emphasize, do not leave any type of keys in the car or any valuables, anything. I just leave my car completely blank, because there's no reason to even entice anyone for any reason. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Vacations. You can also call the district. So you just call their main number. It's not non-emergency. It's the main number. And then if you're traveling, they will just cycle into their daily path, a drive by your house to see what's going on, or just to keep an eye on things. And And I really do think, I mean, even with the neighbors, I mean, just having the relationship with your neighbors is
Huge.
really key. There was one other statistic which was really interesting too when I first came on board, which is all of those neighborhood watch signs that are put up throughout the neighborhoods. I'm like, I don't know if they really do anything, but they actually did a study that says with signs up in the neighborhood, crime goes down 16%.
Wow, just
without even doing anything. There's been a huge push with the neighborhood watch posters. So if you attend one of the CAB meetings or one of the neighborhood watch meetings at District 3, they will have the signs for the yards. They've been doing a lot of studies based on that, which is proving to our council folks that if there's signs in a certain area, it's like a 3-mile radius where the crime decreases based on the pockets of signs. So you can get them there. I do know with Officer Jim Lopez, though, that he wants to ensure that there's commitment from yourself to get your neighbors engaged. They don't want to just give the signs out without really knowing that action's going to be taken, but it's very effective.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And they also had suggested maybe taking one of those signs and stapling it to the back fence too. So if somebody's going through the alleys.
Oh yeah. So mine's on the fence of the back alley.
Perfect.
So yeah, it's effective.
Well, good. Well, thank you so much. Again, I really appreciate it. I think it's so informative and gives our neighbors a little more information about Neighborhood Watch, and it's not a huge time commitment, and the information is easily dispersed, and hopefully more people will start signing up.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. The more folks